Alright, hello guys, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this video. Welcome to Apex Synthetics. So in my last video that I dropped, I do discuss about the advanced market structure and also liquidity. So this video today is discussing about POI. You do realize that in my previous video, I do make mention of POI. So today we're going to get to know what is POI and how we can mark our POI in our chart. So at first, what you need to understand is the meaning of POI. Actually, POI is said to be your point of interest. That is where you take your sell or you take your buy from. It's your point of interest. Your point of interest. And it is where you take your buy. It's where you take your buy or your sell from, or you can say it is where you execute your trade. So if you know that this particular level you want to execute your trade, you mark your POI there. So let us take for example, this is your chart. Let's take for example, so you're looking for a sell setup. And in our advanced market structure sell setup, we do look out for our first sweep of liquidity, our break, which is our transactional liquidity, the first high before our inducement is the highest high before our inducement is our structural liquidity, and the market starts giving structures like this. So now what you're now expecting is for market to pull back into this zone, into this zone to sell off. Why are you expecting the market to pull back into that zone? Is because your POI, your entry level, is there. Your entry level is in this zone right here. And so the question is, where is your entry level? If you've marked your entry, if you find actually where your entry level is, what are you going to use to identify that is your entry level? You use the POI. And normally I do use the rectangle shape. To mark out my POI. So your POI is this rectangle shape right here. You mark it out, and as you mark it out, your expectation is for the market to do what? To start pulling up and approaching that POI. Then when it gets into that POI, that is where you can now execute your trade. That is where you can now take your sell from to the downside. And now another question is, how will you mark your POI? How will you mark it? Like I said, your POI should be marked at your sweep of liquidity area or at your inducement liquidity area. You take note of that. It should be marked at your sweep of liquidity area, which is here, or your inducement liquidity area. Why? You can't mark your POI at the structural liquidity. Neither can you mark it out at these other liquidity areas, because here, like I said, are liquidities. They will be taken out. So this here is the structure that is formed. This is the structure that is formed, and the market is attracted to this structure, this zone here. And so when the market gets to that zone, it's going to tap into one particular candlestick. It will tap into one particular candlestick, then it's now going to sell off. And so those candlestick is either at your sweep of liquidity area or at your inducement liquidity area. So that is where you're going to mark out your POI. So now that we've known where we can mark our POI, which is the sweep of liquidity area or our inducement liquidity area, now the last question is, what kind of candlestick are we to look for? There are different candlesticks you are going to look for. Different types of candle you are going to look for. We have the two types, which is the bearish candle and the bullish candle. So when are you to mark your bullish candle as your POI, and when are you to mark your bearish candle as your POI? So guys, let's apply that right now. You're to mark your bearish candle as your POI in your buy setup when you are looking for a buy. That is in your advanced market structure buy setup. When you're looking for a buy, that is when you mark your bearish candle, because that is the last bearish candle before the pull to the upside. And you mark your bull if you're looking for a sell in the advanced market structure. You mark your bullish candle, the last bullish candle before they pull to the downside. That is where you mark out your candles. So guys, you mark your candlestick, the bullish candle, the last bullish candle before they drop to the downside. That is when you are looking for a sell. So without much talk, let's apply that in the chart. Let's check that out in our chart. So I'm going to go to, let me use my NT5. Let me go to my MetaTrader 5 so that we can get it out. So right here is my MetaTrader 5, and this is volatility 100 index, and volatility 100 index is a downtrend. How do I know it's a downtrend? I checked my daily time frame bias. We can see right here that it is a downtrend. So right now I've looked for my setup using the 4-hour time frame, and what have I seen? I've seen my sweep of liquidity, which you've seen right here. I've seen my transactional liquidity and also my structural liquidity. There are two setups marked out here. So whichever one I get my confirmation from, that's when I execute my trade. So guys, what have you noticed? You've noticed that where my POIs are is either at this inducement liquidity area. You can see right there that my POIs are this inducement liquidity area. That spot is at my protected high. You can see also with this, is close to this my sweep of liquidity area and also my inducement liquidity area. My POI is not here at the structural liquidity. It's not here at these other liquidity areas. But where is it? Is at this my inducement, in between my inducement liquidity area and my sweep of liquidity. Same with this. This one is directly at my inducement liquidity area. So now the question is, why did I put it there? I put it there because I have found my entry zone where I'm expecting the market to tap and react to before selling to the downside. So this is what I do. I mark my POI after getting my setups with the 4-hour, 1-hour time frame. I mark my POI using the 5 minutes time frame so that I could get a sniper entry POI. So I scale down to the 5 minutes time frame and check that zone, either my sweep of liquidity area or my inducement liquidity area. Those are the zones that I check for my POI. So checking right here in my POI, I've not seen any entries here. The markets have made a lot of noise around here. You can see this. That's made a lot of noise. That's made a lot of noise right here. So and I'll pull up. I will not go downwards to look for my POI because market have made a lot of noise here. I will not choose to go downward, but rather if I don't see a POI here, what do? I pull upwards to my inducement liquidity area to search for POI, to search for my entry where I'm going to mark my POI, where I'm expecting the market to react to. So right now you can see this, all this noise that was going on here. You can see all this noise. So what have I seen? This last bullish candle here is where I mark my POI. You can see that this last bullish candle here, like I said, the last bullish candle is where you mark your POI for your sell setup. So you can see that this last bullish candle here is where I mark my POI. So, and if you notice, it is in between my sweep of liquidity area and my inducement liquidity area. Is in between there. So this last bullish candle right here is my POI. So that is where I'm expecting the market to return back to and react inside this rectangle. When it reacts inside this rectangle box, whatever goes on in that rectangle, I'm going to look for my confirmation before I execute my trade. And let us go up to this other one. Let's pull up to this other one. You can see in this other one in this other one right here, you can see this is my structural liquidity right here. And so I can't, this is also my POI. There is a POI here, guys. So let me drop it out. There's a POI here. This POI is right here. That is also my POI. This last bullish candle at my sweep of liquidity area. Last bullish candle. And I now scale up to this upper part right here. You can see all this noise that is going on right there. You can see all those noise right there, guys. So I mark that as my POI. So this as well, this bullish candle right here also save as my POI. So I now return back to the 4-hour time frame. So you can see this, guys. Whatever POI that I receive my confirmation from, that is where I take the trade. So what you should take note of is your POI should be marked either at your sweep of liquidity area or at your inducement liquidity area. That is where your POI should be marked. Any of those areas where you guys can mark it out, either at your sweep of liquidity area or your inducement liquidity area. That is where you mark out your POI. And if you're looking for a buy, it should be the last bearish candle before the bullish pull to the upside. That's the bullish momentum to the upside, the last bearish candle. And if you're looking for a sell, it should be the last bullish candle before the bearish momentum to the downside. That is the bearish power to the downside. So guys, if this video has really helped you a lot, make sure to subscribe to my channel Apex Synthetics so that you can have more knowledge on the synthetic market and also the currency pair market as well. Good luck.